Hello and welcome to Sim Radio here on the Sisters in Music Network. It's Monday Music Madness and you're tuned in to Mixing It with Nicki Kris. This is Nicki, and in case you don't know anything about me, I'm a singer-songwriter from Raleigh, North Carolina. My show celebrates women in the music and entertainment industry, providing an avenue for them to showcase their talents. Our motto, Sisters in Music, together we are stronger. My guest today is a multicultural singer-songwriter, musician, dancer, painter, makeup artist, and visual performance artist based in Raleigh, North Carolina. Despite her young age, she feels she was born to create music and has been recording her ideas since she could first hold a microphone and hit the record on a computer. Her two releases, Wildfire and Everything and Nothing, are the initial singles in what will become her first album, all launched before she even graduates high school. Please join me in welcoming the awesome Kira Takei.
Woo!
Yay! Welcome! How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very excited to have you on the show today.
I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. After listening to your music and hearing a lot about you, I'm very excited to share you with everyone. So we're going to get right into it.
All right.
How did music become such a big part of your life, and when did it manifest really into something that you wanted to pursue?
Oh gosh. Well, music has always been in my life because my dad he plays guitar like crazy. He whenever he isn't working, he's either cooking or playing guitar. So it's always kind of been something that's been in my life. And I think when I was 7 is when I got signed up for guitar lessons. And then since then I've done like band programs and stuff like that. But I think when I really kind of realized that this is what I want to do was probably like 6th grade. I think, because I like writing music. I've always loved writing music, and I've always loved the experience of writing music, and it's like music, it's so fun. But in 6th grade, I think that's when I realized that I could do it as a career, and I could do it professionally, and this is something that I literally could be doing, which is great. Yeah, so I think it's kind of in 6th grade is when it started to manifest.
Hit you as, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Excellent. And I know, obviously, you have more than just musical talents. Mm-hmm. You're a dancer, amongst other things. I mean, how did that become such a big part of your life?
Well, dance, it's my household has really, really seen the value in the arts, which I'm so thankful for and beyond grateful for that. And we've been in dance lessons like ever since we were like super, super tiny, just because it's like, oh, let's do dance. And they're like, okay. So all of my sisters, I have 2 sisters, we've all danced, and it's always been in my life, like ever since, like I said, like ever since I was little. I think kind of around the same time, like in middle school, when I started kind of competing dance a little more competitively is when I again realized like I could do this for a living, and I love doing this, and this brings me so much joy. And it's over the past probably couple years I'm in a pre-professional program at my dance studio, CCCO Dance Complex, and I'm in the core company this year, which has been great because it's like a really in-depth dive to like the industry and like classes and everything, and it's like just bringing out more of what I love in dance, not only like professionally but also what it is for me emotionally.
Oh, that's excellent. Dance and music obviously go together, which is great. Do you think you're going to have to pick one or the other at some point in time? Or do you always see yourself maybe doing both and encompassing the two of them in what you do?
I think I think I have to do both. Like, I don't think I can necessarily leave one behind. But I would love to lead with music, and because I think it's hard to be a musician or be a dancer. I mean, there's a lot of like different pathways that could go. Then music, there's a lot of opportunities to dance, and I would love to do music but have dance within it.
Yeah, and there's a lot, especially when like if you're doing a performance, the fact that you can dance and that you do have dance in your repertoire or in your bag of tricks, so to speak, actually gives you a lot more opportunity from like stage presence, stage performance, and things like that, and putting together shows versus just like a concert. So it's actually very, very good. I'm jealous because I can't dance. I can dance, but probably nowhere near the way that you can dance. But anyway, how are the different areas of your creativity related? Because we said you dance, you do music, but you paint
Mm-hmm.
and you're a makeup artist,
Mm-hmm.
which is really, really cool.
Thank you.
So how do they all relate in creatively expressing yourself?
Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, it's just so natural for me, to be 100% honest, and it's like the most intuitive way for me to express myself. And with having music in my life and then having dance, and then everyone knows what painting is, I'm like, oh well, I dance and do music, let's just try out some paint. I'm like, oh, this is so fun, this is great, and then let me just paint on my face. And that's kind of like what makeup is to me. So all of it is, it's just like such an intuitive and natural way of expression, and it's something I'm so grateful for. Yeah, all of it's connected because it's kind of all coming from me, and it's all just the way that I communicate, kind of.
Do you actually do like makeup for other people and things like that? Like, do your girlfriends are all like, oh, we're going out, do our face for us?
I have before. And yeah, I would love to like try out being a makeup artist for a little bit, kind of as like a side hustle.
I will keep that in mind because I'm always looking for a good makeup person. I'm actually going to the Grammys next week, and somebody asked me, they're like, are you getting your hair and makeup done? And I'm like going, well, no, because Glam Squad doesn't service Vegas, so I'm kind of stuck because that's who I've used in the past, and then I also know a makeup artist in the Los Angeles area where the Grammys normally is, and I'm just like going bummed because I'm like, I have to do my own makeup this time. Kind of stinks, so...
I'm
always
here.
good to know something. Well, I'll just fly you out to Vegas for the day
Perfect.
so you can do my makeup in the morning. Awesome. Lots of artistic ability, things like that. But obviously you were influenced by somebody. So going back, focusing on music, who were some of your musical influences that you draw from?
I've thought a lot about this question, just sort of like, when we're in the studio, like Kevin McNulty and I, we always kind of reflect back on, oh, like this is this, but then also this person takes inspiration from this person like 10 years ago, and so on and so on and so on. And I've kind of been reflecting on that a lot. And of course I have like influences that are present right now, but then also I find myself taking inspiration from like a random song I listened to in 6th grade. So I think all of the music that I've loved and been inspired by still inspires me to this day, because it's all kind of still a part of me and it's all part of my history. But right now, presently, I'd say Lorde, definitely, love her so much. Billie Eilish, obviously, because it's Billie. And I'd say Troye Sivan.
Ooh, that's not a name that I'm familiar with.
Really? Troye Sivan.
Troye Sivan. Okay. I'll have to look that one up because sometimes I love talking to other artists and other songwriters because it's very interesting to hear who their influences are. And a lot of times I'm like, yeah, that's a really great one. And they've probably impacted me too. But every now and then somebody throws me out a nugget where I'm like, oh my God, I've never heard of this person. And then I go and I actually do the research and say, oh, well, now I see why they're an influence. So it's really cool. So I love little nuggets. Really, really great. All right. Perfect spot to share one of the songs with our listeners, with everyone. Please tell me a little bit about and tell our listeners about Wildfire, which is your first single. How did you write it? Where did it come from? Because it's my understanding it has a very unique journey.
Yes, the journey and the birth of Wildfire. I remember it pretty vividly, kind of putting the pieces together. It started when I first kind of figured out how to use Logic on my computer, and I just had like whatever microphone my dad used like years ago when he liked to make music at home. And I remember just like experimenting and just honestly having fun. This song was really, really an experiment, to be 100% honest. And that's fun because I didn't go in with a set intention or a set view on anything, which is great. It's just great. It can be bad sometimes because it gets you off track. But for this instance, it was really, really healthy for the whole creation of this. And as I was, figuring out like piano and figuring out the little things, I was kind of like hearing within the notes, kind of like, I want this to be a story, I think, and I want it to be very visual within the lyrics. And at the time, I remember it was like dark outside, and there's like a street right outside my house, and I was like, okay, I was just kind of coming up with like some images, and I'm like, okay, like what if it's like dark, and I'm just like running down it, and I'm just like so upset with the universe, I'm just screaming and having this big release of emotion. I'm like, that's this song, like that has to be this. So all of it came together pretty intuitively and pretty naturally, which is great, and it was just a experiment, and I recorded like a little demo version on Logic, and then I met Kevin, which is been incredible, absolutely incredible. I've never had someone in my life that's been like a music mentor, because I've never taken like this is gonna sound unprofessional, but I've never taken like vocal lessons or music theory or anything. And so I've never had someone that's like a mentor in that sense. And that's been kind of weird, because I don't really have like, I can play it for my parents, but it's like parents are going to be like, oh, that's great, even if I intentionally like make it bad. So it's been incredible working with him, and him just like really, really seeing what I'm doing and partnering me in that. It's been an incredible experience. And through working with him, it's turned into this like beautiful thing that I'm just so grateful for and so proud of.
Excellent. We're going to play this for everyone. Here is Wildfire by Kira Takei.
How do I know if life's designed or destined? Am I still here to give or learn a lesson? Days go by and I only see myself at night. I cut my hair and burn my clothes on someone only I know.
Love it. I actually was really blown away when I listened to this one, because it always amazes me when I listen to music from the younger generation, if you will, because obviously I'm not 25, but at the same point in time, it's very interesting to me because I get very, very frustrated, at least myself, listening to songs on the radio, because they're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
They're very cookie cutter, if you will, especially certain genres. So one of the things that I really like about both of your songs, actually, but this one in particular, is because it is very, very different, and I really, really enjoyed it. And the other thing that I heard a little bit of, I hear Ruth B in your voice, especially in the beginning of this song, reminded me almost immediately of her, which is really cool because I love her. So, excellent work done on that. And the fact that you and Kevin were able to take a lot of what you recorded at home initially and incorporate and keep that in the song is also fantastic. And I agree. He's a wonderful, wonderful mentor and individual to work with, which is why I work with him too. So anyway, it is what it is, right? All right. Let's switch gears just a little bit. Talk about you're homeschooled. And I believe that one of the reasons why your parents decided to do that was to enable you to travel, experience different cultures and things like that. So how has that influenced your creativity? Because obviously it's very different than going to regular traditional school and maybe taking a vacation once a year, you know, so you had a little bit different upbringing in that regard. So how did that influence your creativity? And then also it probably has made you more independent as well.
Yeah, totally. Being home educated is something I'm so grateful for. And I remember when my mom first told my sisters and I, she like took us to Starbucks because she thought it was going to be like a fun thing. And she was like, we're going to start homeschooling. And we all started like crying. We're like, we don't want to leave our friends. But it was such a good decision. It was such a good decision. And yeah, we're homeschooling, which is so fun. And that really does enable us to have time at home and time, which is such a gift. It's such a gift. And being able to go out of the country to places that are like dreams to go to, like just absolute dreams, and being able to do it with my family brings my family closer. It brings myself closer, honestly, myself, because going through like foreign countries and everything, it's an experience that you have with your family, but it's an experience that you have like for yourself 100%. And it's just crazy to like think that like, you know, I've written this, like I always bring a notepad, always bring a pencil wherever I go because you never know when inspiration's gonna hit. But, you know, I've written songs in Paris and I've written songs in Iceland, and it's like, what? That's such an amazing sentence to be able to say. It's something I'm so grateful for. But having all of those different lenses and having just being able to see all those different cultures and all those different, you know, feelings and like tension and just everything, it opens so many more opportunities for writing from a different place and writing from a different world, honestly, because Paris is a different world from Raleigh, North Carolina. Yeah, it definitely has influenced my songwriting, because sometimes I'll be writing a song, I'm like, I want this to sound like what London sounded like or what it felt like. And yeah, all of it just connects to everything.
I mean, you're absolutely correct, because I travel frequently, and, you know, it's very interesting. And you were just saying, oh, I wrote a song in Paris, or I wrote a song, you know, in here. I actually was just think I was recently in Lithuania, which is very, very close to Ukraine. You know, so I'm like, oh, no. Well, that song that I was trying to find lyrics for, well, I could probably pull from that,
right,
you know, cultural aspect and things like that. So I could definitely see where that would have a significant impact on creativity. So applaud your parents for, you know, taking that step and allowing you that opportunity, because, you know, I have 2 boys and they went to regular school, and it is hard to, you know, and time is precious. So the fact that you have the ability to do your school, but then also have the ability to kind of, you know, explore other things and do it anywhere.
Right.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Love it. And speaking of your parents and your family, so now that we've kind of gotten into that topic, you do live in a multi-generational household. How has being closely tied to your extended family also influenced your creativity? Because I'm sure that probably brings a total, you know, different, unique perspective.
Totally. Living with my extended family, it's fun. It's good. It's something that I wouldn't take away for anything. And I love being able to go outside and just like seeing my uncle, just like walking across the deck or whatever. And hey, like that's my uncle. Like some people don't get to see their uncles. And that's something I'm just so grateful for. And living with all of these different personalities and like perspectives and people with opinions, it's great, because I think a lot of times we're so like used to what we know, and like what we know is what we know, and this is the right way. And I think living with so many different people really like pushes myself to look at different perspectives and look at different opinions, and to hold space for different opinions, and to take what speaks to me, you know, don't take what doesn't. So it's opened like kind of similar to traveling, it's opened new perspectives and new influences into songwriting, into creating, into just everyday living.
Excellent. I love that because it's unique, unfortunately, in today's society to actually have a multi-generational household. Mm-hmm. It is not common. At least I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I mean, most of the people that I know, they don't live with multi-generations in their household. Mm-hmm. So I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. All right. Great place to take a short break from a word from one of our partners in podcasting. We're going to hear from Tim from Front Range Radio. We'll be right back on Mixing It with Nicki Kris here on Sim Radio.
Front Range Radio, playing a variety of indie music, a 24/7 music festival for your ears. You can find Front Range Radio at frontrangeradio.net.
And we're back on Mixing It with Nicki Kris on the Sim Radio Network. And my guest, Kira Takei. Yeah, we have to clap on that because I've been struggling with her name, so I'm excited that I actually got it right. So before we talk more about your music, you experience music differently than most people, so I do want to talk a little bit about something that you do have, which is called synesthesia, which means you see colors when you hear music, correct? How has this influenced your songwriting? And obviously, it's a completely different, unique perspective. Mm-hmm. So how does it work when you're like in the studio and when you're trying to explain what you hear in an arrangement or mix? Mm-hmm. I guess tell us a little bit about what you experience and how you actually use it to your advantage.
Well, hearing music, it's definitely a degree of synesthesia, but that specifically is called chromesthesia, which I do have. But I also do have synesthesia as well, which is basically like everything has a color. Like days of the week have a number, days of the week have a color. Like numbers are colors, they're textures, they're sounds, they're tastes. Like everything is connected to everything, which is fun. It's also overwhelming sometimes because when I go in to create a song, I have obviously songs come from many different places. They can start many different ways, but for me, they always have a color. They always have like a texture. Sometimes they have like a visual. They just have all of these different elements that I try to execute into a song. And that's difficult when writing, and it's difficult when coming up with, a demo or just a song concept or idea, because it's so many things to take into consideration, so many things to get right, because it can taste right, it can like feel right, it can look right, but then it doesn't have the right color, and it's like, how can we fix that? So it's an experience that I'm very grateful for, and I wouldn't have it any other way because it does enhance my intention and my care for what I do and for how I do it. And being in the studio with that is fun. It's difficult to communicate sometimes because I'm like, how do you not? It's like literally like blue. Like, it's kind of frustrating just to like, it's not, you don't understand that. But Kevin is extremely understanding, and he's, he tries to understand, which is, I'm beyond grateful for that. And he's not like, shut up, that's weird. And, some things like, I remember when we were working on Wildfire, there were like a couple noises that sounded like a lighthouse, and just the way that the light goes around, I'm like, that's just what it sounds like. And he's like, okay, sure. So going into the studio with that, it's difficult sometimes and it's frustrating, but having someone that I work with that's so understanding makes it like 10 times better. And when you have someone that understands that, like, we're both trying to make the song the best we can from two different approaches. So when we both try to understand each other's approach, it just is so good, and it feels so intentional and feels so powerful. It feels like a driving force that we're able to then create and really fine tune all of these different details of a song.
It sounds like a phenomenal experience. Basically, it's 7x24 for you, right? So, and I do agree. I mean, Kevin, though I'm not as well versed as you are, but I'm like, no, it needs to sound like this. Here, this is what I want it to sound like. And he is very understanding, and I can definitely see him wanting to understand what you're actually hearing or seeing and correlate that into actual sound and what things sound like. So it's a very unique way to create music. And I think it definitely suits the type of music. It's actually very interesting that we talked about it, because knowing that and then listening to the music, I can actually almost visualize, like, okay, maybe I actually then take it as, okay, well, what color was she actually seeing when this came out, right? So I try and correlate it to that. But anyway, that's just me. That's just me. So let's talk about Everything and Nothing. How did you first write it? Where did it come from? And any song or arrangement notes that you want to throw out there about this one?
This song, while we were recording it, and like the finalized version of recording it here in the studio, I was reflecting on the lyrics. So I'm like, this is so dramatic. And part of me was like, oh my God, like everything and nothing. That's a lot of, and it's not a lot of things. And kind of, I wrote this song a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And I had this conversation with Kevin and with my dad. I'm like, I was hesitant to kind of continue with this song because it's no longer like how I kind of view life in a way, and it's not how I feel about life in a way, and it's just sort of, I think I value change and evolution so much, and it's kind of difficult to look back on previous songs and knowing that this song is going to be like out there and that just knowing that reflects me, even though it reflects who I was. And I remember when I was writing it, I was in kind of like a tough space, and I really was going through like the pandemic and everything kind of hit hard, especially because even though I didn't go to school, which I'm like kind of grateful for because I didn't have to deal with the Zoom mess that was that, it was still strange not to go to dance. And like dance is such like an experience for your whole body, like for your mind, your heart, and your soul. Like you're doing it with your entire being. It was weird not to have that and like not to see my friends, not to have these experiences. So I was reflecting a lot on kind of like what's the meaning of life, but all of these different elements that I took for granted and all these different elements that meant a lot to me and that I kind of don't have anymore. And trying to put that into a song and looking back on it, even though we're not where the pandemic was when I wrote it, it's where it was when I wrote it, you know, and I'm sure people can relate to that now, even though I may not be able to. And I think that song really reflects and reminds me how beautiful music can be as far as like a time capsule and relatability.
And I completely agree. And actually, it's interesting that you said before we put it on, you know, you were a little bit worried about putting it out because it doesn't reflect where you are today. But that's okay, because a lot of times with songwriters, you do draw on inspiration from other times, or you happen to write a song at a particular period in time that may not necessarily showcase or put you in a situation where, yeah, this is how I feel like today, but exactly what you said, this is what I was feeling like then. And that song in particular actually is one that the lyrics could be, anybody that's listening to it, they could be like, wow, you know, this is how I was feeling last week, right? They're very universal. So even though you were taking it from pandemic land, if you will, and a lot of us have written some pandemic land songs, trust me. Pandemic land songs, pandemic land, I don't know, that's not even a word, but like whatever. Pandemic land, new series. You know, it is a song that potentially somebody would be listening to it and be like, yeah, that's, you know, I can definitely relate to that regardless, and they may not even realize it was written during the pandemic. So I think you did a very, very good job with that, and you should never be concerned about putting something out that might be old or doesn't really necessarily reflect where you are at that point in time, because it's still relevant. It's definitely still relevant. So before I do play it, though, one of the things that I ask all of my songwriters that come on the show, this is one of my standard questions that I ask.
Love it.
Do you have any songwriting tips or tricks that you would like to share?
Well, I'm just going to say on experience, I've been writing music since I think I was 13, so that's 4 years now. Hopefully my math is correct. Yep. And I have those audio files from 3 years ago, and I have them on my phone, and I listen back to them like, ooh, all right. But that also showcases a lot of growth and evolution. Like I said, something I really, really value. And I think don't put pressure to write the best thing ever written, because you're probably never going to. And as long as you feel comfortable with it and you feel confident in it, like that's all that matters. And just letting it happen naturally. You're not going to write a song like someone who's been writing music for 20 years. Like that's just not going to happen, because writing music is an experience, and it's a work, and it's a process, and it's something that you need to cater and kind of figure out for yourself to find your writing voice. 100% finding your writing voice. It takes time, and it takes experience, and it takes patience. But if you love it, stick with it. I promise you, stick with it. And even with Everything and Nothing, I don't necessarily write like that anymore, but being able to reflect on growth and being able to reflect kind of what we just talked about, like that's where I was. And that's okay. That's great. That's beautiful. Just, I think, let it happen and stick with it and be passionate about it and be patient with it.
Excellent. Very, very good advice. And one of the reasons why I asked that question is because as a songwriter, you're continuously learning. And I actually am, it's a selfish ask, because as a songwriter, I'm always looking for, what does this person do? Mm-hmm. Could I pick something up from this person? So one of the reasons why I actually do ask that question is, what can I learn from you? Even though I've been writing songs for umpteen years, right? Mm-hmm. So it is a continuous learning process. So that's very, very good advice. All right. Well, we are now going to play Everything and Nothing. So here it is by Takei.
I traveled the world, held the seas in my hands, heard the movement, washed upon the sand, and all the voices rush into my head, from fading memories that once were dead. Now I'm flying high, seeing without my eyes, holding on to my life. I'm trying to say goodbye. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that life is everything and nothing. All the time spent waiting won't care at all. I remember the stage lights and my body taking control. The feeling of forgetting all the words left untold. The waves of bass shakes the drink in my hand. Nothing better than small minds who can barely stand. And all the voices rush into my head. These are the memories I wish would the feeling of forgetting all the words left untold.
Woohoo! All right, awesome. Another great song, and like I said, I really, really enjoyed this one as well. To me, it has more of a like a poppy flavor to it than the other one that we listened to. Wildflower is very, very much to me like my alternative junkie self. I love the way that there's different rhythmic aspects. There's different time aspects and all of that in it. Out of the two, that would be my favorite. They're both awesome, but out of the two, that would be my favorite. Just because it is so different. Very, very much enjoy that.
Thank you.
Before we run out of time, your first two singles are leading to a full album. Yay, can't wait. And more songs are currently being written and co-written. Always, absolutely. And even though you're working with a seasoned producer engineer like Mr. McNulty, you have a very specific vision for all of your songs. And these two in particular, which are 100% written and created by you. So that's totally awesome. At 17, though, I mean, it's, you know, where did that maturity come from? Because it's not something that you would expect from someone your age. So where does that come from, and what guides you in knowing what you want musically?
That's a phenomenal question. Honestly, I have a very close relationship with my dad, and my dad is the type to always question everything, which is great. It's frustrating sometimes, but it's great. It's given me a whole new outlook on life, honestly, and being that close with him, and just him being like one of my best friends, honestly. He's opened me up to a whole universe, like just a whole different way to see the universe and life and how I think and how I feel and why I feel and how I think. So I owe a lot of my like maturity to my dad, because he's just taught me lessons that are going to stay with me forever, and I'm just interested in everything he has to say and every way that he looks at the universe, and I think I'm just ready for it. I think some people maybe aren't ready for that at 17, but I don't know. I was, and I'm welcome it with open arms.
That's excellent. Well, after meeting your dad in person, I could definitely see, because he is very, very proud of you, just even from his expressions and, you know, and how he addresses you. And I think that's absolutely fantastic that you have that type of relationship. So giving dad kudos. Before we sign off, anything else you would like to share with our listeners? Do you have a release date for the album potentially? You know, where can they find you on social media? I know you have a YouTube channel that has a ton of videos on it. Tell us all about that.
Before I answer that, I feel like there was a part 2 to the last question that I totally didn't answer.
Yes, there actually was. What guides you in knowing what you want musically?
Honestly, I think having just all of the experiences that I've had from traveling, from living with my family, from being home educated, it's built me into a very independent person. And I think being an artistic independent person, having synesthesia and being an independent artistic person, it all comes together to just create a clear vision and a clear intention and a clear drive for what I want to do and how I want to execute it.
Excellent. And I think you're a very, very unique individual because of that.
Thank you.
110%. All right. So going back now to our social media question. Where can they find you? What's coming down the pipe? Performances? When can we expect the album? Give us the nitty gritty.
Well, I unfortunately don't have a set release date for the album yet, but both of the songs are released now, and you can find them via links on my website. If you just Google Kira Takei, everything should come up, and all of my social media links are there on the website. Check it out. There's some information about my dancing, just some bio things. All of my information will be there.
Awesome. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel, because she does have some covers that I have listened to and watched that are absolutely fantastic. You can also find that link out on her website as well. Be sure to do that. Subscribe, follow on Spotify. Definitely have to give you massive props. Thoroughly impressed. You are a wonderful, wonderful young lady, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you continue to grow and progress in this wonderful music world or dance world or combination of both and all that stuff. So I'm excited. So for now, thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks everyone for tuning in to Mixin' It. On behalf of everyone at Sim Radio, this is Nicki Kris. Until next time, keep on mixing it.